better offensive tackle draft classes that we've seen in quite a while. You know, this past year, the 2019 class wasn't very, I don't say, I thought it was pretty top heavy. You had guys like, Jonah Williams, I was a big fan of, and it looked like he was going to start day one for the Bengals before he got hurt. Jawan Taylor's a guy that fell to the second round. Andre Dillard's a guy that's played really well. And then, Cody Ford's not played bad. They had some pieces, so I think it was a solid class. I think this class is definitely has some elite guys. Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, Jedrick Willis from Alabama, and Andrew Thomas from Georgia. I think all three of those could go in the top 10. We haven't had a lot of that lately. Last year, this past year's class was, turns out it's had some success. Like I said, Taylor's starting, Dillard's starting, Williams would have started, Dalton Reisner's having success at guard, Cody Ford's played well at times. So on and so forth. David Edwards is playing at guard for the Rams. Bobby Evans is playing for the Rams and that. So they've had some guys that are starting, but they were, Jonah Williams was the 11th pick. Jawan Taylor was a second round pick. Caleb McGarry was a first round pick. Titus Howard was a first round pick, but they weren't top 10 guys. And like I said, this draft class, I think, Wirfs is a guy that I think it can be elite. He could be a left tackle, right tackle. Jedrick Willis, I was, the minute I watched him, and I was one of those, I was just going through his tape, and I just instantly fell in love with him. Now you're starting to see a lot of the national draft writers talk about him, and now he's becoming a top 10 pick, where I was kind of one of the first ones on that train. I think he's a guy that can come in and be a top 10 pick. Andrew Thomas, a lot of people really like. I'm not as high on him as others, but he's probably and in my last mock draft, I actually had those three guys go back to back to back picks in that like 5 to 7 range. I think Alex Leatherwood from Alabama's got a lot of upside, especially in a zone-based scheme. Trey Adams, if he didn't have 2 previous season-ending injuries, I think he'd be a lock first-round pick. Lucas Nang's got potential. Prince Tego Wanago has got talent. There's plenty of other guys. You got Austin Jackson from USC, Mekhi Becton from Louisville. I think this is a very deep offensive tackle draft. It just also depends on guys if they declare or not. There's a lot of juniors. Wirfs hasn't declared yet. Willis hasn't declared yet. Leatherwood hasn't declared. So there's a lot of guys that are still underclassmen. So it kind of all depends. Inside, I haven't studied a ton of these guys. I really like Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma. He's, a top 15 prospect for me. Tyler Baez from Wisconsin's another guy that I think could go in the first round. I'm a big fan of Shane Lemieux from Oregon, their left guard. He's big, physical, and a good athlete. And so I think all three of those guys could be top 40, top 50 prospects. I need to dive deeper into the interior line. But I think you got a lot of high-end talent. Offense, interior guys don't go in the first round unless they're elite. And I think there's two or three elite interior guys, and I think there's probably about 5 or 6 offensive linemen that could go in the first round. So if you need an elite instant starter along the offensive line, I think you're going to be very happy with this class.